Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Detroit in Black and White, our Saturday morning's edition. Um, Before I give a shout out to those that's going to join us, I'd like to introduce our most esteemed host who will be hosting this morning, co-hosting this morning, Jim Nardone, the former chief of police for the Trenton Police Department. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Vanessa. Thank you for hosting today. And for all our friends out there, come on and join us today. We're a little lonely today. So it's Valentine's Day. Nobody should be lonely on Valentine's Day. So let's all join together and have a great show.
So listen, I'm going to challenge people. We know Adolf, is not here today. We know he's back in the state of Michigan, but where the heck is Alan Lango? Look, we putting out a search party for Alan Lango. Alan Lango, where are you? You've missing in action.
He's West Side Alan.
Right. Oh, he West Side Alan instead of East Side Al?
He's out in, I think, maybe the warm area of the country.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully I'm sure he's safe. We want to give a shout out to Al, Eastside Al, and give a shout out to Adolph Mungo. So, what we're going to do this morning is this. We're going to ask that each and every one of you that are joining this morning, we're going to ask that you already know what we want you to do. Like, subscribe, and subscribe is free. It costs you free. It costs you free. And share. You can follow us on all social media platforms. You can also join us in the chat. You can also come on into the room. You can use your cell phone, put the camera up, up to the link, and come on into the room and be one of our guests. This morning we are going to have a guest, but to kick it off, I'm going to have Jim give a shout out to everybody that's in the chat.
Hello, Bridget. Tracy, happy Valentine's Day to you and Hazel Park Taekwondo. Good to see you this morning. Put a BOL on Langle. Good luck finding him. He and Adolph are two of the most slippery guys you ever want to meet. You can never catch up to them, right? Hey, Jill Sheridan. Hopefully you're warm today and safe. Deborah Harris, good morning to you. Same to you. Janet, my friend Janet, who called me out yesterday. Stephanie Jackson, and our friend Dewayla, who's gets the A+ this morning because she's right on top of things.
Yep. So we gave a shout out Kenneth Powell.
Kenneth Powell.
Yeah, Kenneth Powell always says good morning. He always tell people, he always give out the assignment, like, share, the edutainment. I noticed last night, I didn't get a chance to say anything, but last night he said, listen, he said, I don't watch TV.
I haven't had my TV out in a week either. I just
not watch TV. So I read that. Jay, good morning. Less
is more.
They're teaching our youth facial recognition technology at the new Boys and Girls Club in the Michigan Central Building. Shaking my head. Wow.
No kidding.
Yeah, no kidding. So first, one of the things that Jim gave you guys an assignment last week, and so you guys have to continue to do your assignment. This is Black History Month. We're recognizing people in Black history, whether they're here or whether they're not. We want you to put your person in the chat, or like we said, come on into the room and talk about who you want to celebrate for Black History Month. So, Jim, you want to start off with yours?
I'm not ready yet.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to do mine. So, mine is, I was going to do it last night, but we got off track. Mine has something to do with a woman who had 4 children. She was pregnant with twins in her belly, and she was a mother, survivor, a protector, an educator, and a widow. She was sitting in the auditorium in New York, the Audubon Ballroom, as her husband was speaking, and her husband was murdered. He was murdered, and when those bullets sprayed out into the crowd, she covered her children. She made sure that she sheltered her children. That's what people do. That's what mothers do. She didn't let that stop her, the death of her husband. She went on back to school, got a master's and a PhD. She was Dr. Betty Shabazz. Of course, some people know that the way that she transitioned due to a fire that her grandson set, and she succumbed to the fire. But I want to acknowledge her doing what she did and how she contributed to these United States of America. Shout out to Betty Shabazz, Dr. Betty Shabazz, the widow of Malcolm X.
So I have something on my mind today. Does anybody want to talk about anything more about Betty Shabazz? Shabazz, I should say.
Well, we got a guest that's coming on in a few minutes, but go ahead, Joe.
So we have enough of a moment that first of all, this is a great Valentine's Day, and you know why? Marlon Holt is here. We've been looking for Marlon. We heard he was leaving Florida and coming back to Ann Arbor or Ipsy or somewhere close. And you know, I worry about you, Marlon. I'm so glad to see you.
I am too, Marlon. And listen, I got to say something to Marlon. Marlon, you know doggone well we family. If we say something, listen, don't take it personal. We just go back and forth. We missed you. We missed you. I read your comment. And you know what? I took it to heart. I'm so glad that you're here today. And happy Valentine's Day to you. You could come for me. You could come for me. It's okay.
But Marlon was thinking about what I was thinking about today. It's Valentine's Day. And I have this question, all right? You know, I read the first thing I read this morning is Tom Morello. If you guys don't know who Tom Morello is, Rage Against the Machine, a rock rap band, is all over Kid Rock this morning. You know, why are we at war with each other? Why are we at war with each other? Because politicians want us to be at war. And they only want us to be at war so they control our lives. We need to dismiss the politicians and get back together and be a family in this country. It's okay if someone was raised one way and they vote Republican because they have a little more money. It's okay if you never vote Republican because, you know, your dad was, you grew up in a Democratic household and you believe in the union, you believe in health care for all. You can believe whatever you want to believe, all right? Let's not try and force our beliefs on anybody else. Let's give each other facts and let everybody else decide. That's what happens in a communist country. That's what happens in a dictatorship. They tell you what to believe, right? We have to quit being at war with each other. On Valentine's Day, let's make a new friend, somebody that we disagree with, and we need to, as you know, let's respectfully disagree, right? We can have fun with it, but it's okay to have a different opinion. Hey, Greg Jordan, happy Valentine's Day to you. Miss Suzuki, happy Mother Helen Moore, because she's a dedicated education advocate. Still fighting for DPS students and going to the mic every board meeting. Thank you, Helen Moore. Thank you for your contribution. Unfortunately, people like Helen Moore they're not recognized when they should be recognized. You know, we move on and we quit thinking about these folks that are contributing every single day. And that's why I used Tyrone Wheatley yesterday. You know,
here's the thing, Jim. We all have opinions, right? And I agree with you. We can respectfully disagree. We do it in our families, you know. As a parent, your kids are going to like some things that you say to them. And basically, when they're kids, it is a dictatorship. But the bottom line is, in family, we disagree, but we continue to be family. And I think that something that you said is very profound is that we should be able to disagree, but recognize that we are all family. We all live in these United States of America. These are our United States of America, and this is our country, and we are family. And for those that decide that they don't want to be family, okay, fine, go somewhere else. Go move somewhere else. Bye. Goodbye. But you want to recognize Valentine's Day, and everybody sees me this morning. I have on my red lipstick. But before we went hot, I was talking about Valentine's Day, and personally, I think it is all a racket. I'm not trying to be funny. You're supposed to spread love every day. It's a way for us to give Brock Candy money, Godiva chocolate, the FTD. And listen, these are all businesses that contribute to the economy. But, you know, as I was talking before, we start very early. We start with our kids when they go to school. We make sure that they take candy so they can exchange it with other children. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we're trained. And, you know, for me, I try to love all the time. Sometimes sometimes I come across as if I'm not loving, but I am loving. But your goal should always be every day, is my opinion, should be Valentine's Day.
And happy birthday to Greg Jordan. He caught. I tried to catch him yesterday, and I didn't catch him because he had a birthday today. Ron Scott was the founder of the Detroit Coalition Against Police Brutality and Criminalization. Let's recognize Ron Scott. Thank you, Kenneth Reed. On Facebook, it's a real shit show. Mr. 40 Scratch. Kid Rock is a clown, though. JRW7TF. Yeah, he's a clown, but here's the deal. It's an act. Kid Rock is playing a role. He's an actor. Yeah,
You
he's probably.
believe it? He's a bad actor.
Well, I agree with both of those comments, and I'm not defending Kid Rock. I mean, he causes his own problems, right?
Right.
He wants to be in the middle of everything, but he wants to be in the middle of everything so he can make more money off the rest of us or whoever we are. I've never bought a Kid Rock. I'm not a fan. I think he's kind of an embarrassment, but my point is, why are we at war with each other? If you ignore Kid Rock, he would have went away a long time ago. If you would have ignored a guy that's sitting in the White House, if the Democrats would have ignored Donald Trump, I think he wouldn't be president today. And I'll go to my grave believing that the Democrats emboldened Donald Trump, not the Republicans. The Republicans were fed up with him, and they'd had enough of his song and dance, right? We're back to that point again, unfortunately. All right. The Democrats are the reason Donald Trump is president. No one's going to convince me of anything other than that, because people go away when you ignore them, right? People become less relevant. Bad Bunny became a star not because of his show, because of the people that are talking negatively about him. So
Right. Deborah Harris, I did a thumbs up. She said, I love Valentine's Day with or without a lover or husband. I hear you, girl. I love myself and I love my family and I love you guys. Something that you're talking about, we're talking about politics a little bit before our guests come on. I want to talk about something that I read today. They call her Auntie. She's in Congress. She's 87 years old. Could you guess who I'm talking about?
go ahead.
Okay, so she represents California. She's pissed off. Who am I talking about? Auntie Maxine.
Yes.
Auntie Maxine Waters. She's 87 years old, and there's a young woman who is running that's coming after her, and she's pissed off that, you know, someone has the sheer audacity, as far as I'm concerned, coming for her. And I'm sitting here thinking, wow, really? You're 87 years old. How much do you know about what the young folks want? You're 87 years old. Isn't it, or shouldn't it be your duty to turn the reins on, to train somebody, to get somebody to serve as a mentor to someone, to take on the reins? I mean, lady, you've been in office for, I think, was it 35 years? It may have been longer than that. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? And you make it known. See, this is that whole entitlement thing. And she's not the only one, because it happens on both sides. I don't want anybody thinking that I'm picking on her because she's a Democrat. I'm not doing that. The point that I'm trying to make is these people getting these positions that we vote for. And then guess what? They act like they're entitled to those seats. Auntie, you have made an impact. Auntie, you've been in that seat for a very, very long time. Auntie, the seat is probably worn out and broken. Auntie, go and have a vacation. You're 87. Go sit down somewhere. This opinion is the opinion of Vanessa Moss and Vanessa Moss only.
But here's the problem: people get power and they refuse to let loose of it. And that's been going on in Congress for forever. And they don't want to give that up. They're in the spotlight. They are
Well,
somebody.
we don't, but see, we say they don't want to give it up. No, they don't want to give it up, but we don't force them to give it up because she has all the money, she has the momentum, and anybody who decides they want to come after, come for a seat, guess what? We're going to take all our resources and we're going to gang up on this person. How dare them? We allow that to happen. We are the people that vote. We support that nonsense, and I call it nonsense because that in fact is what it is. We had a congressperson here in the city of Detroit, did a wonderful job, and unfortunately he had to leave office. But if you ask me, he should have been gone. He should have retired a while ago. Okay, retire and sit back and look at the fruits of your labor. As far as I'm concerned.
Should we take a break and get to our friends?
Take a break and then we can we take
check out those earrings. Don't they look great this morning? Vanessa, your earrings look great.
Black History Month.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. Are you living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, or maybe you know someone who's in the same situation? The probate process may be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. We have several nonprofit partners who have free attorneys who can assist you. Contact our office, 313-224-5990, or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. Don't lose your family property. Some of these properties have been in the family for 4 or 5 generations. Contact us now. We're here to help.
We're back, Detroit at Black and White. Our Saturday morning's edition. We're going to get to the comments in a few minutes, but first I want to introduce a guest who is not a stranger to Detroit in Black and White. This is Senator Adam Hollier. He is running for re-election to the Michigan Senate. Before he served as a senator here in Michigan, he served as the director for the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency, where he supported veterans and their families across the state. Adam is a captain and paratrooper in the Army, still serving in the reserves. Welcome, Adam. Listen, I'm going to be transparent. Adam and I talked a few weeks ago, and Adam knows that we have a live audience. Somebody may pop in. Some people are going to make comments, and he's ready for the heat because he is a politician, and he knows that he's going to get his flowers, but he also knows that he's going to get that criticism. We invited you in. We're not going to treat you wrong. I can't tell you what these guests out here is going to do. But welcome, Adam, and happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, I don't know, Jim, do you want to ask the first question?
I just want to say happy to see you, Senator Hollier. We appreciate you on the show today. I think this is, I hate to do this, but I think we need to go back to telling people where you have your education, your military experience, your experience in the Whitmer administration, you holding the seat. I don't want to run through it all, but can you just remind our viewers, our friends out there, on what you're doing, where you've been, what you're doing, where you're going?
Yeah, so I'm a lifelong Detroiter. My wife and I have been married since 2011. We have 2 little kids. I have an 8-year-old daughter, 5-year-old son, both of which go to Detroit public schools. My wife and I both went to DPS schools. I went to Cornell undergrad, played football, ran track, was a volunteer firefighter. I have a master's from University of Michigan in urban planning. And, I've done this work for the majority of my career. I worked for Senator Buzz Thomas, who gave me my first job and was Johnson's chief of staff before I got elected, worked in Mayor Bing's administration as the liaison between the city council and the mayor's office. And I've been able to do all kinds of things in between. I did 2 terms in the Michigan Senate representing the 2nd district. And you'll remember I was an incredibly critical and vocal supporter of the Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. I'm really glad that we made it happen. It is allowed for us in Michigan to have fairer maps for the first time literally in my lifetime. At the same time, it caused really real problems in the city of Detroit and amongst Black voters all across the state, because they got bad advice and drew particularly the city of Detroit bad. We lost real representation in both the House and the Senate and federally. And so the state Senate maps that I'm running in right now are new. This will be the first time they've ever been used. So as people think about the 3rd Senate district, it is the district that is the majority of the city of Detroit. And as someone who is constantly and consistently advocated for Black voters being able to elect Black candidates, because we understand how important it is to have somebody who looks like you, who shares your life experience representing you, I'm excited about the opportunity to go back to Lansing and continue to do the work that I did as a member of the Appropriations Committee. And then ultimately, I got a chance to do running the Veterans Affairs Agency and being one of the youngest members of the cabinet there in the Lansing.
So tell us what, go ahead.
Okay, so Adam, I'm just going to get to it because you already know, you're already asking. Listen, you put your hat in the ring to run for Congress a couple of years ago. Everybody knows that you didn't make the ballot. And then you were going to run again this year. And then from there, you decided Secretary of State, now the Senate. So some people have been critical of you and saying, well, can he make up his mind what he wants to do? So could you tell us why, transitioning from, hey, I think I want to be the congressman. No, I decided, I'm going to be the Secretary of State. No, now I've decided that I want to run for re-election as Michigan State Senator.
I think it goes down to thinking about this the same way we think about any other space. I want to be of service, do this work. And the common denominators, all 3 of those jobs give me an opportunity to be impactful, right? If you were on Channel 4 and you went to Channel 7 and you went to Channel 2, nobody's like, oh, they can't figure out what they want to do. They'd say, oh, well, they had an opportunity at 2, they had an opportunity at 4, but they're fundamentally doing the exact same work, right? We don't get mad at Micah Parsons because he left Dallas and went to Green Bay and say, well, he just doesn't know where he wants to be. We're mad because he's in Green Bay and we're Lions fans and we don't want to see that man twice a year, right? When you think about this work, this was an opportunity for me to be as impactful as I possibly could. And in 2022, I lost to Shreve Anadar because there were too many black candidates in that race. And unfortunately, no one was willing to step aside and say that they would rather have Black representation than that Black representative be me. And I was, and very much so, have always said that it does not have to be me. It has to be somebody. And in the congressional race in this year, I knew that with Donovan and I running a campaign, neither of us was going to win. And we've seen that time and time again, where there are too many of us in these races and somebody else wins. I was unwilling to do that. And I think it's important for us to recognize that that is what we ask people to do, is to say, all right, in a space where we got to win, let's make sure that we are in a position to win and not setting ourselves up for failure. I felt really good about Secretary of State's race, was doing all the things, had people committed and doing all that kind of stuff. When the lieutenant governor made the decision to end his campaign for governor, it made it abundantly clear that we were in that position again, where there would be 2 strong Black candidates pulling from the same demographic, the same supporters, and the likelihood that we would lose the opportunity to elect a Black candidate again statewide, something that hasn't been done since 1971 when Dick Austin was elected, was something that was untenable to me. So as people ask me about this thing, the question is, have I been talking about doing all the same things? Absolutely. So when you see me talking about running for the state senate, I'm still talking about making sure that every single person has an ID. We're still talking about making sure that we do fair maps and do that work. The same way I was talking about we talked about our congressional campaign, right? Like, I am talking about exactly the same things. The question is, where am I best suited to do that? And I think that is going to be the state senate, where again, once I left, we haven't had a Black man in the state senate. And it's important that we have that level of representation. Most importantly, though, it's important that we have somebody who can deliver. And we don't have a Detroiter who can do that work. I'm not back in the Senate. I have more experience than all but a handful of members of the legislature, and particularly being able to go back, having run a state agency, understand that process. I think I'm uniquely situated to get things done in a way that I was able to do in the past, whether that was getting the Motown Museum, or the Ruth Ellis Center, or Focus Hope. or saving the Flip the Script program at Goodwill Industries. We need people who are going to deliver. I think I've consistently shown myself to be that kind of person.
Jim, you have a question?
I don't really have a question. I just wanted you to describe the new district that you're talking about, and people are talking about the congressional race in 2022, and we all know that's tragic for more than one reason, right? The city is being represented by a guy that probably shouldn't be representing that district. Maybe he should have stayed out wherever he came from, but we all understand that there was a lot of talent in that race, and the talent all came together. And unfortunately, the talent, this is just my opinion, the talent lost because there was almost too much talent there, right? And money, right? People say, how did you lose to Sri Thanedar? We know.
Congressman Thanedar has more money in his campaign account today than all of the Democratic candidates running for governor combined.
Should we bring, you know what? I'm going to step away and let Mr. Evans come in, and then I'll pop back in, and you guys can continue the conversation. If that's okay.
Jim, you don't have to leave.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah. So, Adam, this is part of our show. People make comments, and people can come in. They can use the QR code. I think I explained to you already. So, he's a voter in the city of Detroit, and clearly he has a question.
How y'all doing, Black and White?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine. I just was listening to the gentleman. My question to you is, what are black candidates going to do when they're trying to run against the two Congress people we have? I'm not knocking them, but what are y'all going to do about running in bunches, dividing the vote amongst y'all, and then other people just squeezing in the position?
Well, I mean, I'm glad you asked. That's exactly why I'm not running for Congress right now. I recognize just how that has happened, and that is something that we got to do. Right? Like, we have got to check our egos at the door. It doesn't mean that we think we are any less good, but it means that at some point we got to come together and say, hey, what is best for our community is for us to have somebody in the seats. I'm also a huge fan of ranked choice voting. I was an advocate for it when I was in the state Senate. I signed the petition and was hopeful that they were going to get out of the ballot. They ultimately stopped that campaign. But I think ranked choice voting is going to be critically important, and particularly communities like ours, where every election is determined by the primary. And, you can win a primary election in the city of Detroit with 22, 23, 24, 25% of the vote and sneak through, versus having to get 51% or having somebody who has a real mandate.
Okay. We have someone who asked a question in the comment section and said, what was the thing you tried to pull in the Detroit City Council? I don't know what they're
talking about. I was
about.
never on the city council. I don't know what they're talking about.
Okay. I was
clarify it.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this, Senator? Les Little is saying the press didn't dismiss Trump 2 years before he ran for office the first election. He's been in the news for over 10 years. It's hard to ignore if you're in the news every day. And I made a point before you came on that it seems like the other side has bolstered Donald Trump. And I think the press is probably a part of that. We talk about Sri Thanedar. People talk about Sri all the time. They need to ignore some of these folks. What are your thoughts?
People like looking at a train wreck, right? Like when we think about what people like to watch, that controversy, that ridiculousness, I think is something that people enjoy looking at. What we have to do is provide them with something that's more entertaining, that's better, and that's more useful, right? Like, we got to deliver real things to people that they can point to in a way that's approachable and interesting.
Well, you know what, Adam, I'm going to say this, and I firmly believe this. If you don't first succeed, try again until you do. And so I like the fact that you have not given up on the fact that you say, hey, I want to serve my people in the state of Michigan, whether it be as a state senator, as the secretary of state, or as a congressperson. I want to make sure the people in the state in which I reside are taken care of. So, I'm going to give you your props for that. And I think that instead of people being critical, because you've heard the criticism, he don't ran for this, he don't run for that. The one thing that you do have is this: because you've run for different things, you have name recognition. And you also have a track record, and I think that people will look at your track record. What is
Somebody
what
asked me about my bow. It's my great
Yes.
grandfather's
Yes.
bow.
you
It's
said? What
not-
now?
Someone asked about the bow above me. It's my
Yes.
great grandfather's bow.
So,
That's
what are
awesome.
some of the things that
He
you
made it.
put
And
on?
so it looks flat because it's not strung. So when you string it, it adds tension. That's why it looks flat that way.
Okay. Somebody says that, Mike, you were trying to ask, somebody's texting me saying, well, you were trying to ask, what is the end goal of getting multiple Black faces in government roles? It's been the same game in politics for decades within our community.
Yeah, I think that we have a lot of work to do as we look at it. I think it's also critically important that we think about the progress that we've made. So when I was in I spent a summer after Hurricane Katrina living with a 92-year-old woman in her FEMA trailer in Biloxi, Mississippi. She had seen everything. Her husband served in World War I, and when he came home, he wasn't allowed to wear his uniform. He wasn't treated like a human, right? Like, it makes a huge difference how far we have come. When my first week running the Veterans Affairs Agency, I met a Black World War I vet from West Virginia, and he didn't collect his veterans benefits. He was in his 90s because when he came home, they weren't giving them to him. And he was like, I don't need that. We still have a long way to go. We have come a long, long, long way. And when we talk about who have been the leaders in that, it is Black folks at every juncture stepping up and saying, we're going to do this work, right? I think about the very first set of paratroopers from the Triple Nickels who made it possible for me to serve in that capacity and for us to understand what is happening in these days. And we just got to think through what the next level of that is going to be. And I think that's around housing, right? Like, we used to own a bunch of stuff that with integration we lost. We got to get elected officials again who are doing that work. And, we had a lot more political power in the 60s and 70s because we were so much more organized than we are today.
So, Adam, I'm going to ask you a question. You have the governor's race heating up, and the former mayor of the city of Detroit, Mike Duggan, supported you before, but now he's running as an independent and you're running as a Democrat. Does that play a role in your relationship? Because clearly you guys have at best, a political relationship. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I'm a Democrat, and I think it's going to be critically important that Democrats get elected statewide in this next race. I've worked really closely with Secretary Benson. She is not just, done a great job, but I think as a friend. Her husband is a paratrooper, and we did a lot of work on veterans and veterans-related issues throughout that service. I'm going to be voting for Democrats in August. I'm going to be voting for Democrats in November, and I know how critically important that is going to be for us as a state and us as a party as we think through all the other things that we have to get done over the coming years.
Okay. Peter Moore says, what about DTE raising prices? You guys voted for that.
I didn't. I wasn't in the legislature when that last thing happened. But the rates, for example, are set by the Public Service Commission. It's not done by the legislature. And so as we think about who serves on the Public Service Commission, they're appointed by the governor. I think it's also critically important that we recognize that our infrastructure is garbage. And like, when I say garbage, I mean like hot garbage, like the smelly stuff, like the things that none of us are happy about. And it's going to require significant investments in infrastructure, in our electrical grid, in our gas lines, and the way that we generate power. And the Trump administration's changes on how we fund and deal with electrification, with solar, with all of those things, is going to have a real negative impact on Michigan, particularly because we went all in on battery technology, which is going to be critical.
What happened? I think he
We're
lost.
losing.
Yeah, we lost him. Maybe he'll come back. Adam,
Are you back?
you're there. Okay,
Yeah.
Go ahead. Okay.
I don't know where you lost me, but I was talking about batteries.
Critical, right. Batteries, and you talk about, which is critical.
Yeah,
So do
Michigan
you have any?
went all in on electric batteries, and that was a big part of us making solar make sense. It's a big part of adding resiliency and redundancy into our electrical grid and getting our utility bill to go down ultimately. The Trump administration cutting back on those incentives, cutting back on that program. And honestly, I mean, they just had the EPA say that humans do not create greenhouse emissions, and that's not what made climate change. Like, that's a huge problem.
Yep. So we have Jennifer Drake. Shout out to Jennifer Drake. Says one of the things that is happening right now is a huge deal is all of the guardianship and conservatorship fraud happening all over the state and being exposed. Our own attorney general being involved. Anybody running for office needs to address it because it's huge and it can happen to any single one of us or someone in our family. You want to address that?
I mean, again, as Jennifer's talking about, those are some of the real issues that we have to have, which is why it's so important for us to get more people to be able to vote and participate in our elections. Because as Jennifer made abundantly clear, that's something that can happen to anybody, right? Like my uncle had to deal with that. He was a Korean War vet and was dealing with MS. And so the last 6 months of his life, like my aunt had to do that. And so luckily, she's somebody that we love to take care of and all those kind of things. But we've had less positive relationships and people who don't have those kind of connections. And they are being administered by judges that nobody can name, right? Like how many of us can name 5 probate judges across the entire state? Most people can't, right? I know you can. Right, like,
unfortunately, I could too because I spent some time in the with my dad. But Jay has a question, Senator, that I was thinking about when you were talking about power and DTE. Jay's question is, what is your view? And there was a question about campaign finance laws. We should get to that too. But a view of the data centers. My thoughts. Yeah. My question is, what are your thoughts on the governor's position on these data centers? And what are your?
I don't know the governor's position. I try not to say what other people's positions are. So if you want to know what I think about it, I'm happy to do that. But I don't. Please. I don't try and explain other people's positions about complicated issues. I think data centers are the next thing that we're going to have to do. The question is not, are they coming? The question is, how do we make them work, right? And how do we make them work for people in our community? How do we manage those things? Because I don't know about all of y'all, but we are all using AI more, whether we know it or not, whether our children are doing it and all of those kind of things. And that is where money is going to be spent. We're like, when I was a kid, they used to talk about the internet as the information superhighway. Data centers are the next part of this work, and we got to get doing that work. We've got to be thinking about that in a real way and thinking about how we're going to support those kind of things. And data centers are coming. We just have to make sure that they work for our community. I know there are folks who have real concerns about the environmental impact and especially the power usage. Again, back to why it's so critically important that we figure out a good way to manage power in a reasonable way here, and that the infrastructure isn't costing us money.
Can you touch just briefly on the clerk found you violated campaign laws and you had fraudulent signatures? Did you have fraudulent signatures as accused, I guess is the question. Can you just tell us a little?
Yeah, so in 24, I was running for Congress and I fell just short of the signature threshold. And that was because somebody who I hired, somebody who I trusted, somebody who I've known for a long time, did the wrong thing with those things, and I didn't check it well enough. But I was never the victim, or I never did anything wrong in that regard. Was not found guilty of any of those kind of things. Was never accused of violating any laws myself. Like a number of campaigns were victimized who were the wrong thing, right? Like that's just the reality there.
And a lot in the last few years.
9 candidates were disqualified. The congressional ballot last year for signatures related issues. For all of you who know, like, defenders are bad operators, right? And we've seen that time and again across the state and across the country. In Michigan, we do not have the same kind of protections that they have in other states. One of the things I talked about in the campaign for Secretary is you look at a state like Arizona, New Mexico, where you can do those things online from your smartphone or those kind of things, and they validate that it's you. And real-time understanding. A lot of us remember when the emergency manager petitions were going around and we got all the signatures and they challenged the type. That's what happened to me, right? Like people challenged every single portion of my petitions and signatures. And unfortunately, we weren't ironclad enough. And that's not common amongst candidates and Black voters, right? We've had 40, 50 people who've been disqualified. The city clerk in Southfield was disqualified for a $40 fee. Gabby Santiago Romero disqualified originally and being able to put back on the ballot because of an email back and forth, right? Like our campaign finance system is trash. Ballot access rules are too complicated. And most importantly, they continue to make it so good, reasonable people can't run for office. The question isn't, are you the most qualified? Are you the person that people want to vote? But can some attorney say, well, this law over here says you need to do these things and that thing, and you missed this dot, so we're gonna disqualify. And then ultimately that comes down to what the judge says or does, right? Like there are a number of folks who remember when Congressman Conyers was disqualified and the judge was just like, "No, I'll put you on the back, put you back on the ballot. You're not going out like that." And that's what ultimately a lot of these things come down to, whether or not the judges, as we say, do this in that way.
Yeah, I'll be transparent. I too was one of those people who did not make the ballot because I was challenged because of a technical. I mean, it was a very small technicality. The reality is, and I know that and people need to understand this, that the lawyers fight, and they look at the legislation and say, "Oh, it meant this or what meant that," but it really depends on what the legislatures do. What laws are you drafting? And so that's what people really need to look at. One of the things that you just talked about, what they do in Arizona, I think that would be very easy. I too, unfortunately, was one of those people who did not make the ballot because of a small technicality. I'm not bitter about it. I just got better about it. I'll just put it like that.
And so, I mean, somebody's talking about the Duggan, right? Like they didn't do that. It really comes down to, does the person want to include or not? And that subjectivity is the problem in so much of our systems. And, you know, I'm a Black man in America. I know that I got to be better if I want to be even. And on one day I wasn't, right? So the Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, who signed my petition, her signature was disqualified. Hester Wheeler and a number of other folks who signed and did those things, right? Like that's not the issue today, right? The issue is that going to continue to happen? And the answer is it does continue to happen, and no one has sought to fix it. That's the kind of work that I want to do. Yeah. And going back to the legislature, that is something that I can do in state law. And that's what we need to do. We got to fix it.
Yep. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna go to commercial. When we come back, we want to wrap it up with you doing your Black History Month and tell people how they can get in contact with your campaign. Detroit Black and White, our Saturday mornings edition.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabria, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
We're back in Detroit Black and White, our Saturday mornings edition. We have Senator Adam Hollier, who has joined us. He is going to wrap it up. He's going to talk about Black History Month and who he wants to give a tribute to. And then he's going to, very important, this is very important, let us know how we can get in contact with this campaign.
Cool. Well, as many of you know, I'm a paratrooper, right? So I still serve in the Army. And I jump out of perfect good airplanes a couple times a year. That, excuse me, that was because there were other Black folks in front of me. So First Sergeant Walter Morris was a bricklayer, and he signed up for 1 year. Then the war happened, and he tried to go to officer candidate school, something I was able to do at Fort Benning, Georgia, and he came up just a week short and ended up back down. Guarding the installation, right? Like guarding the space where people are learning and training to be paratroopers. And he was like, you know what? We're going to get in shape. We're going to get going and start doing the thing. And the general drove by and was like, what are they doing? What are y'all doing over there? And as a result of that, it rolled them into that first set of paratroopers and got them engaged. And I think what's really cool about that story is most of you have probably never heard of First Sergeant Morris, but the work that he did from just saying, hey, we're not going to sit around and do just what we were asked to do. We're going to try and be better. Made opportunity and made ways for folks like me all across the country. And the reason that that's so important is because Black veterans were, and in many cases have always been, some of the leaders in the civil rights movement and have provided opportunities for us to gain space and equity, because it's hard for Americans to come back and say, oh, well, you know, they are less than, and they are standing next to you going into battle, when they are pulling you out, when they are taking care of yourselves, when they have served. And so it's really important that we recognize and remember the kind of regular people that made what are otherwise simple and innocuous decisions that have far-ranging impacts on our lives. And so, think about that first sergeant. It led to the triple nickels, the first, parachute regiment. I still wear their patch when I jump, just as a reminder of where we have come from. And, sometimes people ask me about it. It's really important that we think about those things. I'm running for the state senate in the 3rd district, which is the majority of the east side of the city of Detroit, Hamtramck Island Park, going up into Livernois 6 Mile, Palmerwood, Sherwood Forest area. And I'm really excited about the opportunity. You can get more information about me at my website, which is adamhollier.com. So just my first last name.com. Excited to connect with you. My email is adam@adamhollier.com, and happy to connect and get going. We've got an election here in August, and if Black voters, if Detroiters don't show up, we're going to be in trouble.
All right. Adam, so good to have you on the show. I know you're going to come back. You're not a stranger to the White, and we'll see each other out and about. Okay. All
Looking
right.
forward to it.
Thank you. We'll see you again.
All right. All right. So I'm going to give a shout out to some people. Ponce Clay. Okay. Good morning, Judge. Par Orgs, he says, good morning. Give a shout out to Par Orgs. He clearly is not going to support Senator Adam Hollier. Tamara Kimmett, she's not going to support him. And it's interesting that people have the right. People decide that they're going to support you or not based upon who you associate yourself with. Sometimes it's based upon what you look like. Sometimes it's based upon how you talk. Sometimes it's based upon whether you're educated or not. Listen, whatever the case may be, we need you engaged and we need you to vote. Terry McCrimmon says data centers are coming in each community in the land. You can't stop AI evolution. The super educated techs understand them, and the average citizen does not. I agree. Jay asked Senator Hollier, are you still friends with the person who messed up your signatures? Jay, I will tell you, a lot of times these people are not friends. They have a business. They make money collecting signatures, and they make pretty good money collecting signatures. So it's probably somebody that he was not friends with, somebody that he contracted with to get his signatures, and they did that. But you know what? You have to get smarter. I've learned some things from my experience. There's a way that you can go and check and see whether or not those signatures are legitimate. If you have a team, you go online and put the name in and see whether or not that name lines up with that address and whether or not that person is a registered voter. Tamiri says the clerk found you violate. Oh, we already addressed that.
How about Marlins? Do you see Marlins at the bottom?
What does Marlins say? Put it up there. Part 2 to prior comment. Biden tried to disenfranchise low and middle income foundational Americans into poverty by flooding the country with illegal immigrants. Okay, you want to address that?
I think it's an interesting comment. I think there's some truth to that, right? We need to. I guess we can talk about ICE and some of the things they're doing wrong, and we need controls, just like in the election process. We need controls, and maybe they're attacking it the wrong way. But I think Marlon's making a great point there, right? Somebody's taking a job typically from somebody else, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's his point, and I appreciate it, Marlon. I appreciate you coming back to us. We missed you again.
So
you're Duggan rubber stamp, or Tamari is talking about Mr. Hollier, Senator.
Well, I do want to address Marlon's comment. Does it start and stop with Biden, or did it start beforehand? Because we see that there are people here that are doing work that people don't want to do here. They're doing, they fix cars. I know somebody who went into a certain area and had their car fixed for a fraction of the amount of money that they would have spent at a regular car shop. You see them doing all kinds of masonry work. You have them doing landscaping, those kind of things. So my question to you, Marlon, did it start with Biden? I would opine and say no. This has been going on for quite some time. And I think that both sides recognize that immigration was a problem, but it wasn't too much of a problem as long as these politicians was benefiting. I think it was something that you had someone who said, you know what, this is a good issue that we can get people. This is a gotcha moment. This is something I'm going to campaign on, and people, said, hey, let's look at this. But we got a whole lot of other things that's going on in these United States of America.
Sure.
So, yeah, people can criticize ICE. I have my criticism of ICE, but I also have some praise for ICE as well. I mean, everything that people do, everything that I say is not right, and everything that I do is not wrong. And I think that people should recognize that. One of the things that you started to show off with is the great divide. And if you don't, if I don't agree with what you say, then you're a bad person. I hate you. That is so ridiculous. That is just, it's just crazy to me. So that's my opinion on that. Go
And
ahead.
Les makes an important point, and Queen Bee also. Queen Bee is making Alan's point. If Alan were here, he would be making that point too. Is people say that these jobs are jobs that normal people don't want. They're the bottom of the barrel kind of positions. That's not real. I agree that may be true, but that's not really the point. I think the point is on controls and
What do you think is not true?
Oh, I didn't. No, I just think it's a bigger issue than a job that you don't want.
Okay.
You don't want to pick fruit in California, or you don't want to clean hotel rooms in El Paso. All those are. I agree with that, but it's bigger than it's about
for 2 cents. And so people have found a way. Listen, if I could pay somebody a lower wage to get the job done, because listen, when this thing broke out of some months back, you had farmers really pissed off because they were like, look, we need these employees, we need these people here to do this work. And so then you have legislators thinking about, okay, let's go back to the lab and figure out how we can make this thing legal. Well, you have the guy in the White House says, well, we're going to make the farmers, I'm just using this as one example, we're going to make them responsible for those people. That to me is ridiculous. Call a thing a thing. It is what it is. Politics playing tricks with us. Okay, go ahead.
Why is exploitation acceptable when it's against anybody? If you're exploiting people to pick fruit, Vanessa, or clean bathrooms at the Holiday Inn Express in El Paso, we're still exploiting people, and that's not really a good look either, is it?
No, it's not. Now, Tamira says, oh, hell no, Vanessa. That's a racist, false narrative. Black people did those jobs, and there is no job Black people won't do. Okay. You know what? We're going to agree to, I will say this, it's not all, okay? I'm going to say there are people who don't want to do some things. And there are people who says, I know people in the Black community who has gone to people to get work done because it's cheaper, okay? And will bypass a Black business and go and do business elsewhere because it's cheaper. I have also know people who said, look, I don't want to do it for that price. You got me working out here doing this hard work for this amount of money. I need to make more money. Well, you know what? I'm going to go to somebody that's cheaper, okay? So that's what I have to say to that. And I also say this, and this is my opinion, I don't believe, matter of fact, I know I'm not racist, okay? And I know I did not make a racist comment. All right, go ahead.
We should be paying people living wages, regardless of where we're paying them, regardless of the job we're paying them to do. They shouldn't be in line for food if they're doing a job in this country. And I think that's it's not a good look for our country. That's all I would say. If we're taking advantage and exploiting people, and Queen Bee talks about demands that people make in a job. Well, it's kind of hard to make a demand for some of these folks that, come over here and they're undocumented. They don't have union rights. They don't have health care,
Well, Tamara, I'm going to answer you. I said that, ma'am. Thank you. Kenneth Reed said, who in this chat is willing to run to Florida to pick oranges in an orange grove that can't see in the morning until can't see at night right now?
That's kind of my point. Thank you so much, Kenneth. You
Yeah.
probably said it more eloquently than I could have. So,
Okay. All right. Okay, Tamara, see, I didn't understand it. Listen, this is what I want you guys to do. We got this link up here, and we have one person who I guess he wants to be a regular host on Detroit Black and White. He's always using a camera, and we don't have a problem with it. We want you, Marlon, Tamara, Kenneth, Eric Brown, who, by the way, has his own show Monday night. He's going to have an interesting guest on Monday night from 8:30 to 9:30. Detroit Black and White presents Reality Strike. So go on and check him out on Monday night. Terry McCrimmon. Hey, Terry, we want you to listen. We want y'all to come on in the room and have the conversation. So I'm giving that shout out to everybody on here. Some people I know they can't come on for reasons that, they don't want their job to know that they're participating, that kind of thing. I get that. And we appreciate you participating in the chat. But those of you that could come on into the room, come on into the room. Queen B, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Again, shout out to Marlon Holt. He's been very active with them fingers this morning.
We're glad to see him.
Yeah, did we say anything? Did we give a shout out to Timothy Squire Bay?
I don't think we did. Timothy is out there. Thank you.
Timothy, we are so happy to have you. He said, "What is our opinion about the ICE facilities that they are in half?" The facilities that they built in Southfield and Romulus. I did read something yesterday about a facility in Southfield, but it's not a detention center, and I don't believe. I'm not sure. I saw the headlines and I didn't read anything else. What do you know anything about it, Jim?
I do not.
Okay.
Peter Moore's asking a question about Peter. I'm sorry. Was asking a question about police officers. Well, we had a different relationship, sir. We had an officer assigned to ICE. The Trenton Police Department did my duration, and previously to that, we had a good relationship with Border Patrol, and we would, if we had a group of people that did not speak English, we wouldn't hesitate to reach out to Border Patrol or ICE. It's a different environment now. I'm not sure what's going on in Detroit with the 2 officers suspended for reaching out to ICE. I'm a little concerned. So we can talk about the alleged kidnapping out in Arizona. If these organizations don't work together hand in hand, bad things happen, as we're seeing in the kidnapping case. Politics should not interfere with policing. And I'm a little concerned with that situation. I don't know all the facts, but we would not hesitate to pick up the phone and call Border Patrol and say, we have 3 or 4 guys that can't speak English. We don't know who they are. Will you come and talk to them? Or those kind of things happen.
Yep. And I think Peter called you Alan. That again,
okay. I'm not insulted.
No, I just wanted him to know that this is Jim. I think Alan has less hair, and when he comes back, he may have a tan. But
and Alan's a world famous reporter, and I'm just a broken down city cop. That's what I like to say. Can I do my? Before we leave,
of course, yeah.
We were talking about Black history, and I know this is not his favorite month of the year, but I want to recognize this young man who's a contributor to the show and has a podcast on Monday night, and he lives it every single day. He received an award, a Building Better Men program, and that's our own Eric Brown, who lives it. He lives literacy every single day of his life. He puts his money where his mouth is. He contributes. He understands the challenges. And thank you, Eric, for being that man. I'm grateful to know you. You're a great friend. And
you giving a shout out to Eric Brown?
That's what I just did.
Yuck! I'm just
thank
kidding.
you, Eric, for what you do. And I think these are the people that need to be recognized because they live this life every single day, and we don't give them enough credit. And thank you, Eric.
Yeah,
I appreciate you.
So we're hitting up at the 11 o'clock hours. Time is up. Listen. We want to wish you all a happy Valentine's Day. Spread love every day. We want you to come back and join us on Wednesday evening, Detroit in Black and White. But before you come to Detroit in Black and White on Wednesday evening with the crew, we want you to join Eric Brown on his show. Detroit Black and White presents Reality Strikes Monday evening, 8:30 to 9:30. We'll be back Wednesday evening. Have a wonderful, safe Saturday. Enjoy the sun, and we will see you again. Take care. Love you.